team building and team development. A very serious topic, but very fun to dwell on. I'm Patrick Magyar, and my guest today is Professor Roland Biedert, one of the best knee surgeons of the world, personal doctor of Roger Federer, and the person who has been awarded the prize for the best medical concept in a FIFA World Cup. Roland, big pleasure to have you for our podcast today. We have been working together for ages, almost 40 years. And in these 40 years, you moved from being a sports doctor to become one of the best knee surgeons of the world. You have received multiple awards for your work. You have become a professor. Um, is this all an individual success, or has this been a team success?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank you to have me in your podcast. Of course, it's always a team, a group that helps. Individually, you alone, you cannot go like this, and you cannot have this success. So you need people around you, assisting you, helping you. I think this is very important.
You have actually in sport started with football. You were the head medical person of the Swiss football national team. Um, how different is it to work with a sports team as compared to a sports individual?
There are completely different goals, you know. So when you are working with a team, you are responsible for a whole group. So you have different individuals, and you have different things you have to focus on. So in soccer, for example, you have 25 soccer players, you have coaches, you have physical athletic trainers, you have many people, and you have to discuss with them and to find the best solution. When you're working individually with for one athlete, so this athlete, he is in the absolute focus. He is in the center, and the whole daily program and the whole program in preparation and everything just uh, goes about him. So uh, in a way, it's easier to focus just on one player or one athlete than of a whole group of athletes.
But it also means you're taking up a bigger responsibility. Yeah? So we everybody knows you have been now for decades, actually, really decades, the personal doctor of Roger Federer. Is it actually more a burden to be Roger's doctor, or is it more an honor?
I think it's both. So yeah, you have both sides. You know, you have really the honor side, but of course it's also a very tough job, and you have a very important responsibility. So. But I'm aware. I know that. I knew it from the very beginning, and I think that's the first step. You know, to be successful in your work, that you realize what person you have in front of you, and the huge responsibility. And on the other hand, it's beside the honor, of course, it's also you have to be 24/7, and 52 weeks you are for this person. You must be there the whole time. So I think that's beside the honor. That's the job, and this can be sometimes very tough also.
Yet I know from you, you're still also a very big fan of Roger and his family and think it's a great guy to work with.
Yeah, I think it's otherwise it wouldn't have been successful over all these years. You know, I saw him exactly 23 years the first time for a first medical problem, and then all over the years you see the many positive sides of him and of his family, and how he is as a person, not only as an athlete, and the whole team around it. So you really learn to estimate this, and uh, that is also, I think, an important part to be successful, because most of these persons working with Roger, they are still the same over 10, 15, 20 years. And so we became a group, not only working for him, but we became a group of friends, and everybody has respect for the other. And all the important things we discuss together, and we see the positive sides, the negative sides, and then we discuss it also, of course, with Roger, and in the end, it's him. He decides uh, what he really wants and how we go on.
I would like to touch a little bit on that. One of the most important person in this group is a physiotherapist called Daniel Troxler, friend of yours, friend of mine, one of the fantastic person, also a great physio. And one of the key experiences I had with you was, of course, with Daniel, but also with his predecessor, Stefan Meyer. They were both your head physios. And I
Mhm.
remember the first time I worked with you in the athletics meeting in Zurich. Uh, you were the god in white, huh? You are the doctor. And we had a discussion, and your head physio did not agree with you. And I was flabbergasted because you said, well, you might actually be right. So how how important is it in a job like yours, where, as you said, the responsibility is huge? You may make a mistake, and that mistakes may have very severe consequences, to have very strong personalities around you that don't look at you as a god in white, but actually are saying, no, no, Roland, we disagree. It's probably this and not this. How important is that in your job?
I think this is very important for me, for both sides. It's important that I accept other opinions. I always said I can learn from everybody, and we have best people, as you said, we have best people in our team around us. And so I absolutely respect their knowledge, that what they know from their long, huge experience. And in these teams where I've been working, I'm not the doctor in the white god, as you called it, but I'm the person who is responsible for the medical aspect, for the orthopedic aspect. And the other ones, they are for the physical therapy. And the more we have athletic coach, and all these people, they know so much, so that they can bring a very important input in our discussion, knowledge input, from their experience, that we will integrate all this, and then we will find the best solution. We find the best solution not for me, we find it for the athlete. The athlete is always in the focus. That's the only thing that counts. It doesn't count what the physiotherapist says, what the athletic trainer says, or what I say. In the end, we have to find the best solution for the coach. Nobody is uh, in a higher position than the other. We are a group of friends working together, and I think that's one of the most important thing. that we realized to be a group of friends. Sometimes the discussions, they are very tough, but
Yeah, yeah,
that's
I know. I've lived through that.
they are very tough, and we have not always be on the same idea. We don't have always the same ideas, but we have to discuss it, and then we look what could be the best solution. Yeah.
Now, this works for elite athletes, and you have worked with many elite athletes, but you have also taken care of many, I would say, normal patients. Is this being able to discuss, to look at it from different angles, something that is falling a bit short in today's normal medical care? Like when you are in the hospital, can you afford and are you doing the same kind of discussions with physiotherapists, with nurses, etc., as you would do for an elite athlete?
Not in the same amount, because there you have many patients, and you cannot for every patient have huge the discussions. It's time consuming, but especially for patients or for athletes like Roger, of course, we have the whole day. We have time, to discuss to find the best solution. But also in the hospital, I try really to get some information of other persons, physiotherapists, nurses, and I always have my ears open and to listen what they say. But as you said, in the end, I'm responsible, so I have to take the decision.
And how has that evolved? I remember when I first was with you as a doctor, which was, oh my God, was almost 40 years ago. Um, and today, I think you rely much more on other colleagues as well. Let's look at the radiology has become very specialized. Anesthetics has become very specialized. How important has this working hand in a team become as a doctor? And are you forced to go into that specialization?
Of course, yeah. I always see me as the one that makes in the end the summary of all these different informations we get, and sometimes or very often I'm looking for additional informations, such like a radiologist or whoever, and one has to integrate it, and it's no more possible to work without this, so that's really a most important part of my job, to get all this additional information of the knowledge we can get, and then to summarize and to bring everything together into a conclusion, and the conclusion in the end, that's then the most important step.
Then
Yeah.
let me finish with one very important question because I've lived that again with you, and I think this is something quite interesting. How is somebody in your position then, being the person that summarizes this, deal with mistakes that happen throughout that? I mean, you are doing mistakes as a doctor, very little, I know, but that may happen. The radiologist, the anesthetist, the nurse, anybody can do a mistake. How important is an error culture in this profession to keep a team confident at such an intimate element like health?
It's very important. You have to bring it on the table, you have to discuss it open, but things like this, they stay inside. You have most important, I think, is that all the things we discuss, especially errors, mistakes, or not good interpretation of something, uh, it has to stay inside. And we have a culture of discussion, and it's not that we say, you did a mistake, but if something is not going well, then we discuss it, and then we try to find the best solution out of it.
And
But
if you say keep it inside, it's in order to not have this finger pointing. He did that
yeah,
mistake or she. Okay,
exactly.
something happened and we sort it out as a group.
Yeah, and also not to give it out to the press or to discuss it uh, out of the group. I think only with this you get the confidence, and you get the group of friends, which can be successful when you discuss these things inside. Yeah,
And
and
how do you deal with that if with the patient? If you have a patient where there was a mistake, how you obviously also have to tell the person. So how does that work? It's very difficult, I guess, as a doctor to say there was a mistake, right?
yeah, it's very difficult. But if there is a mistake, and everybody makes mistakes, everybody. So I have learned open discussion, immediate open discussion. Go to the patient, tell him, listen, this was not good, this was wrong, this was a mistake, and how do we go on? We try to do the best out of it, and just open discussion with the patient. That's the key. That's really the key. What doesn't work is to keep it beside and to say you are not a good patient, or the other one did, or it was done completely right. It doesn't work, because one day the patient will realize it, and then it's much more difficult. So I have learned to discuss it immediately open, and to discuss it with the patient. If you really explain to the patient what happened, what was the situation, in almost all the cases, you don't run into trouble with the patient, and you can find a good solution uh, to correct the error or the mistake.
Roland, I finish this by thanking you for all the job you did, keeping me healthy, of course, but keeping so many others also healthy and fixing them and doing that. We could name drop forever now and say who you took care of, but thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me in your podcast. Bye bye, Patrick. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to our Mission Team podcast. Do not forget to register for the next episode and visit us on mission-team.com.